Hi, and welcome to Creative Chelsea. Today I'd like to share with you some cards that have been inspired by the Ornate Garden Suite. Now this suite is an early release of some new products that will be in the 2020-2021 annual catalog from Stampin' Up. I have seen so many beautiful cards and projects made with the products from the suite, and I just had to create something. And so I've kind of come up with my own do-it-yourself hack to create cards that look like I've used products from that suite. So I'm going to go ahead and show you those products now. Just some images that I found online so you can see how gorgeous the designer series paper is, the fun embellishments, as well as the two different stamp sets that are in this suite. So after looking at those products, I came up with these two cards. So this is the first card I designed, and it has some gold embossing on it. The reason I chose gold embossing is because this specialty designer series paper has one side that has gold foil on it. And so this coordinates really well with that. So this is the second card I designed, and I was inspired by the stamp set that's in the Ornate Garden Suite. It has this big flower arrangement, and I wanted to create something similar. So I used the daisies from the Daisy Lane stamp set and arranged them in a similar way. I also used one of the scallop rectangles from the Stitched So Sweetly dies to create a similar look to the dies that are in the suite. Another thing about the cards I made, they all coordinate with the colors in the designer series paper that is part of the Ornate Garden Suite. And so I'm using those colors today, and those colors are Old Navy, Terracotta Tile, Mint Macaron, and then they've got a yellow, and I think it's called Bumblebee, but since that's a new color, we don't have it yet, and so I'm going to be using Crushed Curry. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with this card. So you can always find the products that I'm using as well as the dimensions for the cardstock in the description below. And as a side note, if you enjoy my videos, please click on the subscribe button as well as the notification bell. You can also purchase any of the products I'm using from my online store, and a link to that is in the description box as well. We're going to go ahead and begin by stamping, and I've got my card front, which is 4 inches by 5 1/4, and it's an old olive. I've got my embossing buddy, and I'm just going to rub that over the front, and that just removes the static from the paper. I've got Versamark and the leaf image, and I'm just going to go ahead and randomly stamp this all over. So I've got some gold embossing powder in a tray. I'm just going to pick it up by one of the corners and cover my paper with that gold embossing. I'm tapping off any excess. So then once you've covered it, if you have any places that it has just a little bit of powder where you don't want it, just use a paintbrush to remove the powder and then tap off again. Okay, then use a heat tool and heat it up until it's nice and shiny. Okay, so we've gone ahead and finished with that heat emboss. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and stamp our daisy. I've just got a scrap piece of paper that's about 3 inches by 6 inches. Go ahead and put the embossing buddy on that. And then use the large daisy image and Versamark and stamp that 2 times so you can get an overlapping image. Go ahead and put some embossing powder on over those images. Tap off any excess and then heat it up. Okay, once that's dry, we're going to go ahead and punch that out with the large daisy punch. You're just wanting to make sure you line it up so you get a nice even border around each petal. And then repeat for the second image. And then we're actually going to stamp again. And so you're just going to find a place like this place that you can fit about a 1/2 inch circle. So that will work right there. We're going to ink up just the center of that large stamp, and we're just going to stamp that center. And then put some gold powder on that image, and then heat it up. Okay, so then once we have that center image stamped and embossed, we're just going to take that 1/2 inch circle and cut out just the center. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to stamp the greeting, and I've used the It's Your Time to Shine, and I just love this greeting going with this card because of all that gold embossing. I'm going to stamp it in the terracotta tile, and I've got a strip that's it's a little smaller than a 1/2 inch by, I think it's 2.5 inches. All right, so we've gone ahead and stamped that. Now we can put our card together. So I've got my Very Vanilla card base. Next, we're going to add our card front. Now, if you need to rub it with a bone folder, do it on the inside so that you don't take off that nice sheen from the gold embossing. We're going to next add some strips. We've got a piece of crushed curry, and it's a 1/2 inch strip by 4 1/4, so it's going to run all the way across our card. And you can place this anywhere. I'm just going to place it near the bottom. And then on top of that, I'm adding a 1/4 inch strip of terracotta tile just to tie in that color from the greeting. And this is just going to go over the crushed curry strip. And it's just slightly smaller as well. Like that. Now we're going to add our 2 flowers together to create a nice full flower. Just put a little bit of glue in the middle of one and then stack the other one and twist it until you have the look you want. You could have it be off a little bit or right in the center. And then once you've got that where you want it, go ahead and add some glue to the back and add it to your card. I'm just placing it on the left above my strips. So the actual center is sitting above the strips. Then we're going to take our greeting and we're going to add some dimensionals to the back. And I've just got some mini dimensionals. I'm going to put one on each side and one in the middle. And then this is going to be placed. So we have our centerpiece. So you can have it go in the center just slightly. Don't want to put it all the way over the center. So it can go there. And then just make sure it's nice and straight. And it's just supposed to sit above that terracotta tile so you can see a little bit of that underneath. And then the last thing is adding a dimensional for our center of our flower. And that's just going to go over our greeting slightly and over the center of our flower. So there you go. That card's all done. I love how these coordinate super well with the new Ornate Garden Suite. So if you don't have these products, you can go ahead and purchase that Ornate Garden Suite and make a very similar card. If you already have the Daisy Lane stamp set, you can go ahead and make cards that have that same look and feel to the Ornate Garden Suite. All right, so let's go ahead and make our second card. This card uses a lot of the colors that are found in that Ornate Garden Suite. I definitely drew inspiration from the large bouquet image in one of the stamp sets from that suite. So let's go ahead and start with all our stamping. The first thing we're going to do is stamp on a piece of terracotta tile, and it's 4 inches by 5 1/4. And this is just going to be our background, and we're going to be stamping with the kind of a half shape daisy. And we're going to do that with the terracotta ink, just to create a nice, simple background for this image. When I do my background stamping, and I'm kind of doing it randomly, I tend to start with a diagonal image like this one, kind of going any direction, either from the left to the bottom right or opposite. And then from there, I can kind of branch out and start to fill in each side. I kind of feel like it gives me a good place to start from, and I'm not trying to squeeze in any images in the center. If I start from the outside, then when I get to the center, I don't have the space I want for images. So this gives me a good starting place. Okay, so that's done. Next, we're going to use the terracotta tile ink on some petal pink cardstock, and we're going to create our more pink red flowers. So we're going to start with our large image and go ahead and ink that up, and we're going to do 2 flowers. And then we're using the small daisy image, and we're going to do 4 flowers. Okay, so we were able to squeeze all those on that sheet of cardstock. Next, I'm going to clean each image so that I can use it with a different ink. Now I've got a piece of So Saffron cardstock, and I'm going to stamp that with crushed curry. And do the same thing. 2 large images. And then this time we're just doing 2 small images. If you want to have 2 yellow flowers instead of, or I'm sorry, 3 yellow flowers instead of 3 pink flowers, you can go ahead and switch up these color combinations. Okay, so let's go ahead and punch these out. I'm going to start with my little flower punch. Just kind of the same idea. Make sure you line everything up so there's even spacing between or around each petal. Okay, so I have gone ahead and stamped all those out. I'm gonna go ahead and add, make each flower with 2 of each one of these so that they have time to dry. So just start by adding a little glue and then taking a matching flower and just overlap it, just like we did for the previous card. And I like using liquid glue for these kinds of things because you can work with it. You don't have to worry about taking it apart. You can twist it around while it's still wet. Okay, so those flowers are done. Let's go ahead and talk about our leaves. So I wanted to use some die cut leaves and I found 2 different styles. The first one I'm going to use with Old Olive, and this leaf comes from the In the Wood dies. And we're gonna cut about 3 of those from Old Olive. And then I found this leaf shape and it's from the Bouquet Bunch dies. And so I'm gonna cut 3 of those as well. So I'm gonna take these to the Big Shot and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've cut those out, and I think I forgot to mention that this is Pear Pizzazz and this one is Old Olive. So those are the colors I used. And then the next thing we need to do at the Big Shot is cut out a mint macaron piece with the scallop from the Stitch So Sweetly dies. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that and be back. Okay, so that's done. And so this is kind of to mimic the look of some of the other dies that are in the Ornate Garden Suite. And I'll go ahead and put a quick picture of those dies up on the screen now so you can kind of see what is available in the suite. And then the image that I'm kind of replicating from the stamp set, I'll go ahead and place that image up on the screen so that you can see the look we're trying to replicate. All right, so let's go ahead and put this card together. So we have our die cuts. We've got another piece of Very Vanilla for our card base. So we're gonna go ahead and add the pattern paper that we created with the terracotta tile. And you can use any adhesive you like. And that's just going in the center. The next thing we're going to add is the piece of mint macaron. And this color is part of the suite. And so I wanted to add that light green in here just to kind of make sure it has that same feeling. It's going in the bottom right corner with about a 1/2 inch border all the way around on the right and the bottom. Now we're going to add our flowers. And I started with my large flowers first. And I just placed a dab of glue on the back. And then this one kind of goes up in the top on the left. I wanted to make sure I still saw that cute border on this side. And then this one is kind of in the bottom right corner. Make sure that you're not going over that edge of the card so that you can still fit it in an envelope. So now we can add some of our leaves before we add our little flowers, which will go on top. And we're kind of, you can place these anywhere you like. I kind of did a combination of both just to kind of give some different dimension and shapes. And I placed them on the right and then some on the left. Actually, these ones kind of come up a little bit like that. And then I have some coming down over the flower a little bit. But you could also have them be here on the left of this flower if you wanted. So let me show you my original card. So I have some here, here, and here, but then I did think that coming down this way would be nice as well. So you can do either one. I'm just going to go ahead and add some glue to the back of these leaves and place them on the card. Again, make sure they don't go over the edge of the card. We're just going to move it slightly. This one, I'm going to have the flower on top. There we go. Okay. Whoops. Again, a couple drops of glue just on those bottom leaves is fine. And then lay that down over. Okay, and that just gives some nice layering. I keep wanting to take that cap off. And then lift up some leaves and slide it under. This one can kind of come off the left a little bit. And then this one is kind of going to go straight up a little bit and go over the flower. Okay, I think I want to try this one coming down. And so this is going to kind of tuck under that yellow flower a little bit more, just so that I can kind of get it at a different place. So I'm just going to lift up those petals and kind of tuck it underneath. And then do the same thing with this one. And that will just give us a different idea on how it's going to look. Okay, like that. Okay, so this yellow flower is popped up with some dimensionals, and these two are flat on the card. So I'm going to go ahead and lay these two down first. This one just kind of goes over here on the right. It can go off the card front, or you can bring it in a little bit if you want. And then this one kind of comes down here on the left. Okay, and then like I said, that one's got some dimensionals on the back. So I've just got a mini dimensional for the middle, and that can go right here in the center where that opening is. Okay, so for our greeting, I wanted to use the best moments in my life happen with you. And another color that's part of the suite is the early espresso. And so I've got that for the greeting. And I've got just a scrap piece of vanilla paper. And I'm going to be punching it out with, actually not punching. I'm going to use a 1.5 inch circle from the layering circle dies. And so we're going to go ahead and run that through the Big Shot. Okay, so I've cut that out, and I've got a piece of 10 inches of the braided linen thread. I'm going to add that to the back in kind of a back and forth kind of shape. So kind of start with one end on the center of the middle, and then loop it, and then loop again. And then loop it through the center. Whoops. So you can make it as big or small on each side, like those loops, however you want. Okay. And then trim that off on the side. And then we're going to add that to our card with dimensionals. Okay, so I'm going to place it kind of between these two flowers and a little bit over that large yellow flower on the bottom. Okay. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to add were these gold faceted gems, and they're beautiful, and they kind of have that center flower look. and so I wanted to add them there. So I've just got one of each size. So I'm placing the large one in the large flower, just kind of centering it, and then one of the medium sizes just in one of the small ones, and then the small in just the other small flower, like so. All right, so that card's all done. So I hope you've enjoyed learning how to hack the Ornate Garden Suite and create 2 cards that have a similar look to that original suite. If you like these cards, please make sure to purchase any products from my online store, as well as if you're interested in the Ornate Garden Suite, go ahead and click on the link in the description box below and check it out. Thanks for stopping by. Have a creative day. Bye.